Oh, I think so. Not here. Everybody, I'd like to, well, I guess, do we do the roll call first and then the land acknowledgement? We'll do that.
Okay. Commissioner Chan?
Here.
Commissioner Chang Frank?
Here.
Commissioner Martin?
Here.
Commissioner Trinkle?
Here.
And Commissioner Abbott?
Here.
Commissioner Hillary Sardinas will be absent today, and Commissioner Kent has informed me that he'll be a little late, but he will be here later.
All right, thanks so much. We'll read the land acknowledgement. The City of Albany recognizes that we occupy the land originally protected by the Confederated Villages of Lejeune. We acknowledge the genocide that took place on these lands and must make strides to repay the moral debt that is owed to this indigenous people, specifically the Ohlone tribe. We thank them for their contributions, which have transformed our community and will continue to bring forth growth and unity. The City of Albany commits to sustaining ongoing relationships with the tribe and together build a better future for all that now make this their home. All right, thank you. I think we can have a look at the minutes, get approval for the minutes. Not a lot of discussion here. I would accept a motion.
Julia and I were absent, so.
Okay. You can still vote.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to move that we accept the minutes. Does anybody, I mean, you folks were gone too last time, weren't? No.
It was just Julia and me in June, according to the minutes.
Okay. Oh, very good.
But
So who would like to vote to approve those minutes?
I need a second. I need a second.
Second.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Commissioner Chan?
yes.
Commissioner Chang Frank?
Abstain.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Trinkle?
Yes.
And Commissioner Abbott?
Yes.
Thank you.
That was harder than usual. Okay. We now have a few minutes for public comment. This is for folks who may be here or online who wish to talk about something that is not otherwise on the agenda. So again, if you have something you want to let us know about, now's the time.
No hands raised for public comment.
Raised. We'll give them another 10 seconds. Just. 10 seconds seems longer than it. All right, I think we're going to call it. All right, moving on then. Presentations, item 4.1, Habitat Restoration Intern Program. Welcome, Margot.
Good evening. I'm Margot Cunningham, Natural Areas Coordinator, and I'm joined virtually with Kat Alexander, one of our habitat restoration interns for this summer. And we're going to talk to you about the program. We're in the third year of this program. It's out of Public Works, and it's paid experience for interns to learn about natural history and habitat restoration, and it's for the summer. Occasionally we have interns that work through the fall till December. The interns help us in the city's goal to reduce fire hazards on Albany Hill and also to restore and maintain habitats both on the hill and on nearby creeks, and also to repair and maintain trails. And they do other projects as well. The funding for the program was started through a wildfire resilience grant from the Coastal Conservancy, and now the program is funded entirely by the city, but we are looking for more grants to continue helping to fund the program. Let's see, next slide. Okay. So yeah, that tells you a little bit about the program. We're helping students who are just starting out in their careers, students in general who are interested in ecology, environmental fields, biology. Next slide. So these are some of the activities that interns did this past summer. A lot of weeding. There's plenty of weeds to get rid of on the hill and nearby creeks. Trail work. And the interns also helped with our urban tilth watershed restoration crew that works on the hill and the creeks. So they helped that crew once a week. They did mapping of plants and animals, which is important for us to know for restoration where different kinds of native plant populations are, which support the wildlife. They collected seeds of native plants on the hill and propagated them. And interns learned about various environmental topics through websites, webinars, books, and studies. Okay. Next slide. Okay, so now I'm going to hand it over to Kat Alexander. She'll talk about her work that she did this past summer. Our other intern, Nina, she's on a class field trip, so she'll come back here in October to talk to you about her work. All right. Take it away, Kat.
Okay, so starting off very early on day one, I started learning how to identify the different plants. And I think the first thing I learned was about grasses. And then I also learned about flowers, insects, birds, and just like other animals as well. So before this, I did not know how to identify any butterfly, and now I can identify at least 4 on my own time, which I think is super cool. Same with birds. I knew like maybe the J and one more, and now I know 5 birds, which is also cool, and it's like inspiring me to learn more because before that I didn't really know a lot about birds. So I chose to do this because I go to KALB Humboldt and I'm an environmental studies major with a minor in recreation and restoration. So this was a huge opportunity for me to learn about what restoration in the field is actually like because I have had no prior experience.
Okay, next slide.
Okay, so the picture by the truck is us loading our stick bundles that we had made, which are to help with the path because part of it is just not as secure and stable anymore. And then this is us on, I guess, a field trip where we went to visit like a lumber yard, and that's where we got some of the like scraps for this project, not the actual bundles, but for like staking the bundles down. This is the swallowtail caterpillar, which I had never seen before, and I'm very familiar with them. They're super cool. And then I took this picture of deer on my phone when we were doing weeding um, on the hill. It was cool. I usually don't get that close to deer. And then this is just a picture of all of the plant waste that we had weeded after one day. And then this is a picture of one of the little lizards that we see a lot. One day we saw one that was like super green, and that was cool. I've never seen a green lizard before.
All right. So I'll say a little bit more about that. If you go back to the photo. Yeah, the one in the middle showing the logs. So that's the log, the yard for Bay Area Redwood, which is a company that takes urban trees and recycles them into lumber. And they have all kinds of different trees there, eucalyptus, redwood. And what they have done, we've worked with them the last few years after we have cut down some eucalyptus. They have milled logs from the trees that we cut down into lumber, which we use for retaining walls and steps on the hill. So that's what that slide, that's a little bit more about that slide. Okay, does anybody have any questions?
I also forgot to mention that in the picture with the truck, I'm working with some of the Urban Tilth crew members. And then there's Nina, the other intern.
Yeah, that's the Urban Tilth crew helping us.
All right, we'll bring it for commission questions for either of our speakers, I assume.
I had one question. Is there, I know there was, I think an earlier intern had put together like an online repository of all sorts
Yes.
of flora and fauna.
Yes.
Did some of this work add to that?
Not this year. That is something that we want to update, especially since the city website changed from .org to .gov. And yeah, the idea is to have future interns who are interested add to that, add animals and plants to that guide.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, the main project we were working on was bat boxes, but I was only there for the beginning of that process. So Nina will go into more detail about that.
Yeah, Nina will talk about the bat
That was
boxes.
super cool. I learned a lot with the bat boxes.
Any other questions? All right, we'll bring it if there's anybody from the public who would like to have a say on the internship.
No.
Okay. Any discussion or good wishes or statements?
Great program, and
Yeah.
best of luck with the future grants.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks for your work. I think it's a rewarding program. I'm glad that you found it valuable, and I wish you best in your career. Are you still with us for a little longer, or is this the end of the period?
No, I'm back at school already, but
Oh, that's why you're not here. Well, I hope you have a great school year. Great. Thanks. Perfect. Any other comments? All right. I think with that, we'll just thank our speakers. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay. And now the park tree maintenance update, item 4.2.
As I'm sharing. Okay, let's try. 1 second, it says I'm sharing, but
This
let me
is getting ready. I'm John Hawkridge, urban forester.
try that again.
I'm just going to give an overview of
Okay.
this slideshow, of my recent inspections, assessments in Ocean View Park and Terrace Park. So, slide. So, yeah, what I said, I just recently assessed these two parks as 84 trees, 29 in Ocean View, 29 trees in Terrace Park total. Next slide. 4 trees in the assessment. I made recommendations for pruning some of the trees. There's several trees that I'd like to consider for removal. We're not discussing the removal tonight. These are just possible removals, and I'll get into some of the reasons for these. In Ocean View, there's some concern about soil compaction in the Redwood Grove. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Next. I actually remapped all the trees based on our consultant. A few years back, we had a consultant assess everything in the park, and for whatever reason, they took our tag numbers and put their own numbers, so each tree had 2 different numbers. I'm going with the tag numbers that exist there now. There are several missing, so I'm going to have to re-tag them. I'm just going to re-tag them in this numbering system. That makes a little more sense. Next. It's just the north and the south sections of the park. Okay, We'll dive right into removals. There are 6 black acacias in total in the park, and my feeling is that these acacias need to be removed for various reasons. We'll get into that a little more. There's 6 redwood trees that could possibly be removed for various reasons. There's one Monterey pine tree that almost definitely should be removed. There's not much left of the tree. It's overcrowded. Part of the problem in Ocean View Park is overcrowding. There's too many trees. The redwoods are still growing and expanding and crowding some of each other out. And along the western fence, there's been a lot of trees planted, too many trees planted there, and they're all starting to crowd each other out. So next. So this is the black acacia in the parking lot. It's next to a light pole, so it hampers some of the light. I'm sorry. And it's also infringing on the redwood tree that's to the left of the tree, of the redwood tree in the foreground. In the past, we had a failure, a black acacia failure in the park on a stem of a multi-stem tree came down into the parking lot. And sometime after that, we removed the rest of that tree. And this tree has some issues, other issues that I'm concerned that I think this would be a good tree to remove. Next. This is a black acacia behind the Friendship Club building. It's in between the fence and this electrical vault there, and that tree is just going to get larger and larger, and I think that would be a good tree to remove. There's a couple trees, there's more trees on the other side of the fence, and there's a couple trees on our side to the left of this tree that would kind of fill in that space. Next. Here, you'll see 3 straight trees. Those are all the black acacias. They're overcrowding, overshadowing a coast live oak, the 3-stem tree on the left side. And there's some small ginkgos and buckeyes that were planted. I'm not sure which came first, but they may have been planted before the black acacia because they're voracious growers, and the ginkgos are really slow. Ginkgos are a more valuable species in general. Black acacias are considered invasive species. So these are 3 more black acacias I'm considering for removal. Next. And one of those is this tree on the left. It's 2 stems growing together. It's actually codominant. It's all twisted around. Eventually one or the other of those stems are going to break out and cause problems. So that's another reason to take that out. The picture on the right, and you can see the difference. Those are suckers, saplings of black acacia, and that's what they do. They reseed, they sucker from roots and stubs. They're kind of hard to get rid of. They're one of the reasons they're considered invasive. Next. And this is a black acacia in the southwest corner near the gate to UC Village. Right next to it on the right is a redwood tree, which would be able to grow out more fully if we took out that black acacia. There's really not room for 2 large trees in that area. Next. And somewhere in there is the pine that I mentioned that should be removed. It's overcrowded by black acacia, but also by the oak tree that's nearby there. And it's just dying off. It's got a little bit of growth. It's curving out and popping up through all that other mess, but it's not in good shape, and there's not enough room for that to grow out to its natural size. So that should be removed. For the redwoods, first of all, a bit of good news. The tree right behind the tree was a tree that we considered for removal a year or so ago because it was in decline. We had it pruned, we had all the dead branches pruned out, And after a good year of winter rains, it's looking better, so that's kind of off the list for now. Also, there was a pile of mulch that was left there by Public Works crew. I'm not sure when or why that happened, but that mulch definitely helped with this tree's recovery. Next. So for pruning, basically, I'm looking at the entire redwood grove and these lower hanging branches. This is on the south side. But all around the tree, the south side and the west side especially, there are heavy extended branches that need to be raised or reduced just to let some air through there, let some light in there, more visibility, just some general canopy raising work on those trees. Next. Here are a couple of trees on the left. It's hard to see, but in that circle is a broken, where the top broke off of a redwood tree a couple of years ago in a winter storm. That tree is going to struggle being overshadowed by the other trees. I think that would be a good tree to thin out of there, give the other trees more space, and that's just going to get worse. There's a very heavy branch leaning towards the south that's likely to fall. It's right at that area where the top broke out. The tree on the right, you see the codominant stems, codominant tops on the tree. Next big storm, one or the other or both of those are going to break out, and that tree is also going to be in the same situation as this one. So it's probably, it is another one to consider for removal. Next tree, next slide. And here on the left, you see another tree where a top broke out in the past, and this kind of weakly attached substitute top is growing up. That's another tree that, part of the tree that's likely to break out in a big storm. The slide on the right is a tree that's just overcrowded. It's kind of barely peeking through the tops of the other trees. If we thin that out, the other trees would grow a little fuller, nicer. That's another one to consider. Next. The southeast corner, the east side in general along the pavement there, the trees are causing a little bit of damage. The roots are kind of cracking, lifting the asphalt there a bit. The tree at the southeast corner is a codominant stem that's starting to form some included bark, which is where trees are likely to break out in a big storm. In this case, a whole stem could break out. It's next to the street light, or the park light, the light pole, whatever that is there. Next slide. This is from the other angle, looking west. The arrow there is from the pavement to the root crown of the tree, and that's about 3 feet. So that tree's really got a big base there that's could be a tripping hazard, but it's also, these are the large roots that are growing out that are going to continue to break up the asphalt. And it's also, it's kind of blocking the light there, but the pruning will help with that also. Next slide. And on the north side of the park, all of the London plane trees along the sidewalk, along the ball field, they all badly need to be raised up, so that's just some routine pruning that will be done. Next slide. A couple trees were pruned recently, arbutus tree and a ginkgo tree by the Friendship Club. They're looking good, no issues there. Next slide. But next to the arbutus, there's a space for a potential new tree to be planted. One of the few spaces in this park where we can actually plant another tree rather than reduce the number of trees. Next slide. Just a cyclist driving through the park. That's the end of Ocean View. Now we go to Terrace Park. So Terrace Park, surprisingly, there's only 29 trees in the park. It seems like there's more, but a lot of these trees are in private, in yards on private property. They kind of merge with the trees in the park. So currently, there's 2 dead trees that need to be removed, and I counted 18 trees that need pruning, and again, it's mostly raising canopies. This park has some more opportunity for replacement trees. We've talked about using California native trees. That's come up with in the street tree management plan discussion often. This may be a good place where we can consider some native species. Next slide. Here's the map. I remapped it. You see on the left, that's the west side. It looks like there's more trees. There's only really 2 or 3 trees that are ours, that are of any size. There's some nice sized redwoods behind the trees in the yards there. Next slide. So there's a dead camphor tree that we talked about previously. We kind of were concerned about it, and we were watching it to see if it was going to recover at all, and it hasn't. It's just getting worse. The tree's right at the corner of the fenced-in tot lot area, so that's something that I think it's time to get that tree taken out. There's concerns about trees near the playgrounds and the tennis courts. I've looked at, there's a couple cedar trees there. Those will be pruned up to clear the overhangs over the tennis court. Again, terrace is a good opportunity for planting more trees. Here's the camphor tree. You can see where it's located right over the tot lot. There's a little bit of green on it. There's a little bit of green leaves. Some of that is from another tree, but it's not gotten better since the last time we looked at it. To the right, there's a young camphor tree. I'm not sure how that got there, a volunteer, I think, which will fill in that area, but there's still room to replant more trees in that area. Next. This is Ceanothus on the street side, on Terrace Drive side, next to the sign that unfortunately died this year, or actually late last year, I think it died. That needs to come out. We can consider replanting something more suitable for that location. To the right of that, there's a dead stem of a toyon that will come out. That's not necessarily a removal. The rest of the tree is still alive for now. Next. So thinking about planting more trees, I know we want to keep open space. We want green fields, we want play fields, rooms for dogs to run, all of that. But I think along the perimeters of the field, there's still some room for trees. This is my opinion. I don't know, up for discussion, but we have a tree in the one corner, the southwest corner, the northwest corner, that small maple tree, red maple, and that's looking south. So there's room along that perimeter. And then the other one is one of the older camphors, which camphors are getting over the hill, basically. So that still has some time left to it, but I think there's some more room to plant along that pathway. We could have shaded pathways with trees on both sides of the pathway here. Next slide. These are the 2 remaining large camphor trees in the park, and they're doing okay for now. So, next slide. Here is the west side on the north end of the park, and there were a few small trees that died and I took out over the last year or so. But the remaining trees, there's a maple tree, there's an oak tree. The redwood tree is not ours, but the trees that are there are growing out nicely. They're providing shade for the picnic area. I think we're pretty good there. Next slide. And this is the southwest side. And again, there's a small peach tree in the corner by the bathroom that I didn't count. It's struggling to stay alive there, but there's a cedar tree next to it. There's a tulip tree that's doing really well in the left of this photo. And I think that's all that we have. All the other trees are in the yards in the back there. So there's space there, but not really because of the other trees on the private property. And this is the area on the east side where the dead tree and where the two other camphor trees had died and been removed. This is where there's room for a few new trees to be planted. Next slide. We've been concerned about the cedar tree over the tot lot area there, and basically it looks fairly well. It doesn't look too bad. We did some reduction pruning on it a while ago, so that's hanging in there. We'll keep an eye on that. It is kind of old, and it's a deodar cedar, which is a weak wooded tree, so there could be issues in the future with this tree. Next. And this is the planter that's next to that tree, and there were some shrubs there, some toyon or ceanothus or something, and they had died back. And my feeling is that they were trampled to death, basically. Kids climb up there and jump around, and I'm not sure what to do with that. We could replant, we could plant there, but I think we would need some kind of fencing or some way to kind of keep people out of there, at least while these things get established. Next slide. Oh, and that's it for terrace, and I just wanted to throw in a quick plug for Albany to consider having some kind of process for removing private trees. This was today. This is probably the biggest, most beautiful, or was, coast live oak in the city in a backyard. I talked to the crew, why are you removing it? I don't know, is there anything wrong with it? No, the lady wants it removed. So we need education. We need to really think about this. Ruined my day today. So anyway, that's it. That's a quick run through. Any questions or comments?
All right, clarifying questions. Any questions from the commission?
Thank you. Wasn't there a large oak there that was removed, what, 5 or 6, 7 years ago?
A long time ago, yeah. Maybe
And there was a new
8
tree
years
that's
ago.
supposed to replace it. Eventually,
We replanted another live oak next to the bathroom.
was that where, I'm looking at the plan, trying to see what
It's
that
doing pretty well.
Okay.
We decided not to replant in the sand lot for whatever reason, because it's a sand lot and it would be hard to start a new tree there. So.
All right, I was just wondering how that was doing. Sorry. I was just wondering how that was doing. I don't go to that park too
Yeah,
often.
we have that one oak and it's doing pretty well. So.
Go ahead.
Just for clarification, for the redwood trees in Terrace Park that have their tops fallen off, are you recommending them getting cut down or like pruned?
Removed, yeah.
Removed completely?
Basic thinning, because that whole grove is kind of overcrowded, and I think Brian brought up the idea of
Are you asking Ocean View or Terrace?
Thank you. I think
Ocean
I
View.
think you meant Ocean View.
I think you said terrace, but
You
it's
said
Ocean
terrace.
View, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I brought it up.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, and I went and looked through, to see which ones might be good candidates for that, so.
Is it true that the redwoods over there were planted as a nursery, part of it, that's why they're so close together? Do we know that historically, or?
I don't know that, but they are, if you look at them, they're planted in straight rows, basically. There's a couple.
I know that, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, over on the other end of kind of the Giltrect area, we had to thin out a bunch of redwoods. People are upset about it. It's because they were grown never to get bigger than this to be sold, and they just growing and they're much too close together, and it's just not good for them.
Possibly, or they were just planted close.
Oh, they're also in
They're
nice
only
rows.
this big, so
and
there's enough room for.
I think we do have records historically that
Yeah?
this was, yeah.
I had a couple.
One more thing to mention. While I was there, I spoke to someone from USDA who's working. She's working on experiments with different plants and how they react to pesticides and weeds and all a kind of complicated experiment there. And she would love to see these trees, the blackwood acacia specifically. She says she's working on USDA side to do the same thing with the trees there. Their trees are kind of a mess. So anyway.
Yeah, I had a couple questions. One about the acacias there in Ocean View. you said they're considered invasive. It sounds like that other USDA scientist is interested in getting rid of them. Are these in other parks in Albany, and do you recommend their general removal?
They're not. We removed one in Memorial Park a while ago. It had decay, which is kind of typical, had trunk decay. We had someone come in and do a tomograph on it, and I brought it to the commission. And it was an emotional removal.
Was that the one in the little garden?
The huge one?
In that garden in the back, the hidden garden.
That was difficult.
there.
People love that tree.
Yeah. So it was that. Otherwise, there's not any that I can think of right now.
Then another question I noticed on the inventory, there were a number of liquid amber trees, I think in Ocean View, and we've had some residents in the past concerned that the city is systematically, just kind of has it out for liquid amber trees. How many of those liquid ambers do you have slated for removal?
None of them at this point.
Okay, all right, thank you. Yeah, that's it.
They're all good. They'll all be, all but one, I think, needs some trimming, some reduction trimming on some of the heavier branches, but otherwise, for now, they're okay. Yeah.
Thanks.
So I have kind of a meta question, and that is, we have been working on a street tree removal or street tree plan, a revised thing. And in that situation, I think you would just be reporting this to us. This wouldn't necessarily be up for a decision. Is that? Do we remember? Maybe if you're not familiar.
These are parks,
Yeah.
so that's not included in.
Well, it had to do with I think it had to do with the parks. No, okay, that's fine.
No, that's just for street trees, and the suggestion from the consultant is that where a tree is obviously sick or dying or has some defect, we don't have to bring it to you guys. But if it's someone like this oak tree, if that were a
Right.
street tree and the woman was I shouldn't say woman, the property owner was concerned that it's going to fall or it's ugly or something, that would definitely come to you. Yeah.
All right.
Maybe I want to jump in on that,
Yeah.
that question about the,
I'm just kind of.
yeah, so what I want to say is the discussion around park trees would be distinctly different than.
It does make sense.
Than street trees. My idea and my hope is that this is sort of an ongoing sort of update conversation so we can see when trees are in decline, proactively plant trees in anticipation of removing them, and so that it's not as stark as maybe a street tree where we're really, bound by the planting strip. We have more flexibility in a park. So
And different priorities.
and different priorities, and as John pointed out, the opportunity to plant natives that maybe aren't appropriate for the street tree or street planter strip.
Okay.
On Ocean View Park, so we have the Grove of Redwoods, which redwoods, as you know, tend to like to be together and they share roots, grow as a group. Once you take the outside ones, the ones that are exposed to the setting sun or the winds, the next ones take the brunt of that. So by removing the acacias and the stuff on the west side, would that put, and even the tree, I think those trees that have the broken atypical stem are also on the west side, right? So if they've taken the brunt of the storms and the sun, and we take those away, then we're just exposing the next row.
There's a couple of things there. Not all of those trees, the one with the freshly broken top is inside the grove. It's not. The reason that broke, I believe, when we have storms, they're not the common westward winds coming in off the bay. They're blowing all different crazy ways. We had those bomb cyclone storms a few years back, and that's what happens. The winds just go crazy, and that's when trees start to break. If the wind's always blowing this way, this tree's used to that. A little bit of stronger wind, okay. But when the wind starts blowing in the opposite direction or different, all different directions, it weakens a tree and it's more likely to break. But yes, it will open it up to a little bit more of the regular westward winds. But there are still trees on the USDA side, and the trees that are there, like the coast live oak that's there, will grow out more and kind of buffer that. So there's lower trees there that are buffering that right now.
Any other questions? All right, we'll open it for public comment, or?
John, I had a thought. One of the questions with the acacias, if we took them out, if we do go forward with taking them out over a number of years, might give time for the other trees to grow before you take them out. You can take them out more selectively, so it's not,
Yeah.
it's there or it's not. And I think, again, that's one of the advantages we have in the parks where we don't have in the street trees, where we can help mitigate some of those concerns by timing. We have a longer time horizon.
Yeah, I failed to mention that this wouldn't be a logging operation, it'd be priority, the worst one first and over a period of time, so.
All right, we will open then, no more questions, okay. Open for public comment. Any folks online, anybody here who want to speak about yes, please. Please step up and give us your name and let us know what you're thinking about.
Hello, my name is Maya. Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Hawkridge. Thank you for the wonderful work you do in making our little town greener and helping mitigate some of the negative effects of climate change. We all know that planting more trees and having more greenery is really good for our town and neighboring towns. It helps reduce some of the temperature, the heat. So I have 3 very short related questions for you about Ocean View Park. You talked about the asphalt that goes past the trees all the way up to the entrance to the community garden. Could you please tell me whether that you did talk about it, but does it have a more net positive or a more net negative effect on the trees?
The asphalt that's
Yes.
there?
Yes.
John, you have to let her finish her public comment, and then you can respond.
Okay, so I'll ask you all the 3 questions because I see that I'm being timed. My second question is, if a sand volleyball court is put on the green grass that is right next to the redwood trees, will it have a positive or negative impact on the trees? And my third question is, if we add more asphalt to support that volleyball court, will it have a positive or negative impact on the trees? So those are my 3 questions, and thank you very much.
Sure.
Wait, would it be more appropriate to push this to the?
Is John going to be here for the second?
Yeah, John, you're going to stay for the next segment?
Apparently. All right, so we'll hold on to that and then make that part of the whole discussion, and perhaps that can be added to the presentation.
Yeah, because that's, I think some of the context needs to see the.
I mean, I was thinking, well, it's close, but it's fine. It's fine. It'll be better within the whole story, but I appreciate the questions.
I'm aware of the proposed volleyball project, but I looked at the parks just at the trees.
Sure.
In light of the trees, so.
Very good. Any other public comment, anything online?
No hands are raised online for this.
Okay, bring it back to the commission? No. Oh, sure.
I'm just wondering what the sort of issue you raised about homeowner being able to just cut down the trees. Because this happened to one of my friend, Jackie, that the neighbor did not want to sweep any leaves, so just cut out all the trees that 60, 70 years old in their yard. Now, what's the process and how could we help you guys, to have a process so we can have a greener city?
The short story is there is no process yet, but I'll let folks take it from here.
Even shorter story is that's not technically on the agenda for tonight, but
It's
Well,
that's,
it is a-
Shouldn't have brought that up.
I would say the street tree management plan is going to the council on Monday, and that might be a good question for that discussion, because it is.
Yeah, I mean-
it is referenced in the master.
Yeah, John did bring it up in his presentation.
Oh, yes.
Kind of the
Okay, yeah,
issue
and-
there, so.
So I would say that that's not included in our code. We don't. It is a private tree, but there is in the recommendation in the street tree management plan that the city consider some sort of ordinance around that. But that's yet to be developed.
So we're aware of the issue, and folks are thinking about doing something. Okay, all right. Bring it back to the commission for comments.
Yeah, I would just say I would encourage some thinning in Ocean View Park. Yes, more trees is better, but too many trees is not good. And when they're crowded like that, and getting some more sunlight in there for the can really help out the whole ecosystem there. Yeah, and I appreciate the thoughtful, look at every tree and the whole picture there. I think the parks will be better for it.
One more comment. If and when we remove some trees there, I would like to have the chips broadcast over throughout the grove to use as mulch in the park itself, so that would also help the trees.
I'd just like to say I appreciate the pruning, so the proactive pruning. And then also if there's any way that we could have input on what does get planted, perhaps you were going to bring that to us at some later point, but that'd be great
Sure.
to see. Thanks.
Sure.
Comments?
Also, I like the idea of having the trees be on the perimeter of the Jewel Park. I think there's still, having trees there still makes enough space for like the grassy area, make it more shade. I like the idea.
All right, thank you. All right, I think that's it, John. Thanks so much. I think we all appreciate the report. It's very good to have an update on how things are going in those parks. Okay. Item 5, okay, now it's 5.1, Ocean View Park Sand Volleyball Court, Design Review.
All right, good evening, Commissioners. My name is Andre Sterling, Project Manager at Public Works. So here to present to you our Ocean View Sand Volleyball Court design for your review. So we anticipate quite a few comments and questions after the presentation, so I'm going to keep it as short as possible, short and sweet. So we can go to the next slide. So our project scope for the sand volleyball court involves a sand court with boundary lines. It's going to be a recreational court with edge guards, subsurface drainage to provide adequate drainage for the area. That's going to be tied into an existing drainage inlet that's adjacent to the community garden. New poles and pole pads, as well as new seating. 4 benches, so 2 on the east and 2 on the west of the volleyball court. And also expanding the asphalt path that's in front of the community garden, and we'll explain the reasoning for that, as well as a new information, a dual-sided information board. So next slide, please. We want to delineate the spaces there of the community garden and then the volleyball court as well. So we'll need to expand that asphalt path that's in front of the entrance there. We'll have, again, a dual-sided information board that serves both areas on either side. But the main reason to expand that path is to provide ADA compliant access to the sand volleyball court. And as a note, this court will be constructed on the footprint of the existing casual grass court. So this will not impact the trees around the perimeter of this court. So next slide, please. These are the dimensions or the layout for the sand volleyball court. Now this is based on consultation from Volleyball USA. So the court will be approximately 30 by 60. There's going to be a 4-foot border or sand border around the playing area. And we're trying to minimize that border because of the limited space that we have there of the existing site. And also to minimize the impact on the root systems of the redwood grove on one side and then the trees on the other side of the court as well. But this still gives us the minimum clearance from any obstructions off the playing surface of 10 feet. And then we also have that expanded asphalt path will be approximately 26 feet, again, to provide ADA compliant access. Next slide, please. So that's the existing site, and we see that even with moderate traffic, there's quite a bit of compaction there, and we saw the cyclists going through, riding through that area as well. There's some low spots there that when it rains, we have a lot of ponding, and then we have muddy conditions in that area. So on the next slide, please. This is the conceptual rendering of the area, and it just to show you the layout and how the sand volleyball court will fit in that space with the 4-foot border. We have the expanded asphalt path again with the seating and the information board. And as John mentioned, there will be some, now this isn't connected with this project, but he's going to propose pruning the redwood grove there, and that contributes to the health of those trees, but that also gives clearance for the volleyball court, the aerial clearance as well. So the next slide, please. Another angle of that expanded asphalt path. And next slide. This is the west side of the court. As mentioned, there's no planned tree removals connected with this project, and that provides almost a separate shaded seating area there. Next slide. Now, as far as the main access path renewal, now this project isn't connected with the volleyball court construction, but as we pointed out in our staff memo, there's some various options to look at. We really want to minimize the impact of the redwood grove that's there. So a few options would be maintaining the current width. When it's renewed or repaved, we can narrow that path down to 4 or 5 feet, or even gradually reducing the width as you approach the entrance of the court area. So also included with that would be on the west side of the court area, that UC Village pathway, the decomposed granite pathway. That can also be renewed either with asphalt or another material that could make it ADA compliant. And we'll have signage as well, making it only for pedestrian use. And of course, we need feedback and direction from Pros Commission on how we can handle those projects. Next slide, please. So this is the best case scenario if our current project scope gets recommended to council as is. So after the recommendation from Pros, we can go to council for approval as soon as this fall, and then award the contract in November, maybe start construction early winter, and then close out the project early next year, which puts us in this fiscal year to complete the project. Next slide. Yep. That's it. So if you have any questions, and I can also invite our CIP manager up to answer any questions regarding the project.
Very good. Any questions, clarifying questions?
I do. This is a sand volleyball court. Is it meant to be bare feet, or is it just sneakers or whatever people want to wear in there?
Was not expecting this question. Hi, I'm Allison.
Is it loose sand or kind of compact?
It's going to be loose sand. It would be used the same way a kind of recreational sand volleyball court would be used generally for sports purposes. I imagine if people want to be barefoot and if they want to be shoes, I don't think we're going to be policing.
The reason I ask is you had the curb there and it looked like a real ankle twister if you're jumping up.
We would be using whatever kind of is recommended by USA Volleyball. And making sure, but there is the need for some kind of curb. I think this is an early rendering, and we would probably be, making sure that we're using kind of compliant materials for that.
And this is to keep the sand in place, presumably.
This is, I think, to delineate kind of like sand, and also there's a separate one inside with the border rope.
Sure.
But yeah, it would be something like that. Yeah, we would be absolutely looking for guidance from USA Volleyball and making sure we're doing it that way.
Other questions?
Well, I guess I just want to queue up the question that one of the public commenters made. So is there any concern with the asphalt paving and redwood tree conflict? I guess that was.
I guess maybe we'd ask John to step in and say something about the potential impact on the trees. From, I think, increased activity and then the specific infrastructure, although you may not have considered it too much so far.
The short answer is yes, there'll be impact. How much impact is the question. There's already impact there in that grove. That's a heavily used grove. There's children running, people having barbecues. Who knows what's being spilled onto the roots. Barbecues with smoke going up into the crowns of the trees. So it's a urban redwood grove. So there's some stresses there already. Depending on the design and speaking with our staff, there's a lot of thought put into trying to minimize any impact with the roots and with the trees.
Is there danger specifically from sand to a redwood tree?
No.
No. Okay, so just.
Okay, great, thank you.
Well, you'll definitely have an opportunity. Definitely have an opportunity. Just make note of it and be sure and bring it up when you're.
And we're done with our questions.
And I did, any other more questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. One was, I was curious, what's the nature of the ADA compliance? Is it expected that people in wheelchairs will be in the sand volleyball court, or is it more for access as spectators, or people with different kind of disabilities using the court?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we aren't designing towards a specific anticipated need. We have to make sure that they have equal access. And so that includes for sand volleyball or any kind of recreational activity that we need to make sure there's a compliant surface all the way to the playing field, essentially.
And there certainly are wheelchairs made for sand. They could participate.
So they could.
The benches would be the same thing. We would want to make sure there's space so that there's room for somebody to be able to have equal access.
And then there were some questions raised in some of the emails. One was proximity to the creek. Are there regulations regarding runoff or other things there?
That's a multifaceted question. So in terms of the location of this sand volleyball court, it's beyond the top of bank. So in terms of regulatory agency, we do not need to we're not running this for permit kind of through water boards, through Army Corps, through various agencies that overlook kind of the creeks. However, being near a creek, we want to be careful about discharges. We want to be careful about, especially one of the things that happens quite a bit is with runoff from chlorinated water. And so making sure that we, especially since any court in this area is likely going to need drainage, that we don't introduce chlorinated water directly into the creek because it leads to die-off of kind of creatures in the creek. Yeah.
Is chlorinated water from the EB mud water supply, like from sprinklers?
Correct. So this project with the sand volleyball court would not require any sort of irrigation. There would be a drainage in order to make sure that the playing field is usable fairly quickly. It's a general recommendation by, again, USA Volleyball and other volleyball kind of court designs. But there wouldn't be any necessary irrigation because it would be sand. Alternative types of materials may require irrigation in order to maintain a field. And so kind of for the purposes of this particular presentation and proposal, I would say I'm not seeing anything kind of immediately just kind of create major risks, anything like that. But if we're looking at alternatives, then we need to maybe start looking a little more closely.
And there was a concern in one email about the dimensions being insufficient, the size being too small, the space being too small. Has the city looked into the whatever bodies define play spaces say the minimum is, and how this is? Could there be tournaments here, things like that? So
we would not be meeting the kind of regulated tournament style formal court. This would not be that. It's in terms of kind of size, Andre was speaking to this a little bit with the presentation. So the recommendation is about 10 feet of clear zone, and then having sand out beyond the actual court itself so that people aren't diving and going immediately into something. However, those two are actually two separate things. The clearance zone is with kind of vertical tree trunks with additional poles, benches, things like that. And then the sand border is a separate kind of evaluation. And essentially, this is, again, not a formal court, so we'd be doing the extent possible. We kind of spoke to it in our staff report or staff memo, but one of the things we're looking at is, especially in that additional space beyond the court, of kind of tapering the sand. And that's, again, to try to protect the trees and extend kind of vertical cuts as far away from the roots as we possibly can. But this is a court where we might have to go down a little bit. We're trying to kind of do a mass balance between kind of what we had to take out and what we're putting in. But there's always going to be a little bit of kind of excavation, and so we really want to make sure that we get, at least in the court itself, where it's the really critical place, we get the depth that's recommended, and then outside of it, kind of taper it up gently.
My last question was on having to do with the path on the west side of the park near USDA.
Yeah.
That, I believe, is just like right now it's just beaten down by people. There's no actual formal path there. So, and was the proposal decomposed granite?
So decomposed granite, when you first put it down with stabilized material, it can probably be counted as an ADA compliant material. But as soon as the stabilization material kind of wears away over time, it can very quickly become no longer ADA compliant, because it's not about there's no specific material that they say. It has to be non-yielding, non-slip. And the issue with decomposed granite is it can get quite slippery. Those the aggregate can act kind of like beads a little bit, especially if they track. That being said, we are looking at asphalt, which is not always the preferred material. There's another material that we've used. It's a little more expensive. It was used on Cornices Creek, the Phase 4 that was just installed. It's called granitecrete. It's a kind of a permeable decomposed granite. It has cementitious material, but it's permeable. I think it's 1 inch an hour. Quite expensive. And so some of this is going to be looking at kind of costs. And one of the things I did want to kind of speak to on this project is we actually have 2 different capital improvement projects that we're kind of putting in and kind of seeing an opportunistic way to tackle 2 things at once. So we have a discrete project for an enhancement to an existing grass court. And we also have kind of our programmatic desires to maintain our parks. And so there's certain amount of this kind of path that we're talking about that's required for the court. And then knowing that we're going to have to do some of that, let's kind of look around and try to take advantage of having a contractor out and do what we can to maintain the area. The decomposed path from the UC Village is an existing path, so we are kind of required to maintain it. It's not something we can just remove. It's used, fairly regularly, not many bicyclists, but fairly regularly by bicyclists for cut-through. While that exists, we're talking about kind of using signage and trying to remind people to behave on a path in that area, especially if we put a sand volleyball court. People may still want to use it, and now they might be going through some of the more kind of populated areas, I would say, with the Grove, and then also more kind of more critically, the children's playground area where you have kids running back and forth. So we really want to make sure there's good behavior with kind of more permanent signage. Signage can only go so far. I think there's been discussions too about behavior in general around kind of trails and making sure people are working well together. There was one more thing I wanted to bring up, but I needs a second.
So just to clarify, so that path would be an ADA compliant path, whatever the material is, that would connect the University Village in that far corner where the gate is to the city's infrastructure of existing sidewalks, kind of near Friendship Club, is that right?
So it would be near Friendship Club, of the existing kind of concrete sidewalk pathway that exists in the park. Right now it may have been part of the original design that it did exist. Decomposed granite has the additional thing of it's very easy to lose it over time. And we do see indications with the edging that it used to extend further into that between the Grove and the Black Acacia area. So we would probably try to follow that same alignment where there's a little bit of clearance between trees, bring it around and connect behind the bench that serves the kind of play area where parents like to sit, and slightly adjust some of the picnic tables and one of the barbecues just to provide a little extra clearance so that somebody can get around. But again, that is a kind of more of a maintenance kind of renewal project, and that one's purely separate from the sand volleyball in terms of why we need to do that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Other questions? I do have one. I do have a question about the, we've mentioned the drainage, understanding that. Is that like a permeable drainage, or is that going to be channeled somewhere? I realize it's also likely taking water from the trees. Is there some way that it's going to go back to the trees?
Yeah, so there's kind of, in terms of where it would be draining, there's an existing culvert that runs between the pickleball courts and the community gardens. And so we would be trying to connect to that culvert, or that shallow drainage channel. The trick to trying not to overly drain an area is to balance the depth of the drainage pipe with the spacing. And so when we want to make sure that we don't over drain an area, we want to keep our drainage pipes shallower. And we're going to have to balance that with the depth we need for the play surface, but we keep it shallower and more pipes. And that keeps the cone of drainage shallower.
So there's not going to be like an impermeable surface underneath the sand. It's just we're going to catch the water and move some off.
Correct. It's really for the sand.
Most of the water will still go through, or
Yeah. And the way that you kind of design these things is you put the holes on the bottom so that the water can kind of just peak up, but when there's large storms, it's still kind of getting collected in that area.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because we had proposed, or years ago, we proposed a site for bocce ball.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the issues, which would make it prohibitively expensive, is the drainage. And in a way, the sand volleyball kind of solves for that, because it itself is kind of, maybe it doesn't solve for that, but it's a different application. I mean, I remember that project was like going to be over $150,000 because of the drainage issues there. And so it sounds like especially because that little tract of land looked like a lot of people were biking through there, that this may even be, I don't know if it's a better solution for that, less compaction or not. I don't know if that's true, but it just seems like it's a different kind of usage than in terms of impact. I have a question though about the asphalt paving. So it sounds like it's not creating new, it's maintaining old, is that right? I guess I'm wondering if you could ever peel off if there's concerns about asphalt, and the asphalt's about the separate paving, which doesn't necessarily need to be done, if that's something the city would want to consider not, doing separately. Or
There's a few questions in there. I'm going to try to answer all of them. So the asphalt path, the kind of existing width is around 9 to 10 feet. There's some constrictions. It goes down to 9 feet. For the sand volleyball court purposes, we would be proposing to expand it slightly next to the court. Again, this is for kind of making sure ADA access is maintained to the court surface, or the extent of that sand area. And because if you have the asphalt end and then the grass is not considered an ADA compliant surface. And so we would kind of have to bring that as close as we can. Okay. So there is some expansion, but there's also the discussion about the existing path. So the existing path is not in great condition. It's not the poorest condition asphalt path in the city, but while we have some other asphalt work happening, this is an ideal occasion to start talking about kind of other maintenance needs we have. So in the staff report, we talk about a few different options for how to deal with the existing path, and that includes keeping the existing width. There's some benefits to that, because with people walking to and from with, whatever equipment, making sure we provide, we're not squeezing people who are also going to the community gardens, who are also using the practice ball court. However, the ADA compliant path doesn't have to be 10 feet wide, and we can reduce the width there, and that's beneficial to some of the routes, providing a little bit more room for it to grow, and maybe I don't want to speak for John, but maybe allowing some more time before the next time we have to resurface it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm also curious, we had a few different comments about parking. Has there been any look at the impact on parking from this project? Having played softball there back in the day, I know that it does get full pretty quickly. Is there anticipation of problems there?
So it's an existing volleyball court. It's not very heavily used. But we're not changing the kind of use that was originally planned for that area.
I don't think we can fall back on that.
No,
There's
no,
net
I
there, and
absolutely.
I have never seen it used for volleyball.
Yeah. What I'm saying though
I
is
think we
that
need to accept that there's going to be increased use.
I was going to get to that. There will, if there is increased use, unfortunately, there's really also no place to put additional parking. So I think we're in a situation where we have to kind of understand what we're getting into. On the other hand, Albany is very built out, just generally, all over the place, and we have a lot of push towards active transportation, and that is to relieve some of these pressures. And so we can make sure that there's parking that's kind of used, there's more parking for people who really need it to get there, that they need accessibility needs. And hopefully we can continue to increase kind of active transportation use around the city. One of the comments spoke about kind of getting across Buchanan, and there is active transportation projects that are in planning and that we are looking at, kind of complete streets along there. I don't want to deviate too much from that, but there is kind of a larger effort towards making it easier for people who are not driving to be able to get easier and safer to get around town. But it's not really part of this project.
Sure, I was just curious. Okay. Any other questions? Oh, please.
So considering it's like sand and like in the area with like weather and like walking through it, will this require more maintenance than like other facilities?
This one I might have to defer to Mark because I'm not sure what the maintenance on the other facilities entail.
You mean the current facility? Or
like maybe some clarification on what other facilities you're asking about.
Like, I don't know, the tennis courts.
so this is interesting. I think the maintenance in this area, the maintenance of a volleyball court would probably be pretty minimal from a like what we do, because I think the biggest thing they have there would be some sort of rake or something that we would rake leaves out, and that would be similar to softball, baseball, where you drag your field before and after every game. So that would be a similar type of thing. We wouldn't have any necessarily scheduled maintenance, but we probably would do refresh the sand every once in a while, similar to what we do with all the 5-bar and sand in some of the play areas. The good news is with the underdrain system, it wouldn't pond and it would drain much more efficiently than it does right now. If we were to do another surface, let's say grass, we would probably have to put that on a mowing cycle, and that would be a more structured type maintenance. Similar with our tennis courts and things of that sort, we do have more of a structured set of maintenance tasks that we do just because of the type of the court.
Okay. I think we can open it up for public comment. Okay, see no public comment? No, I'm kidding. All right, we'll open up for public comment, please.
You guys can come up one at a time, please.
Please come up one at a time. Just give us your name and let us know what you're thinking about.
Do we have a time?
You do have a 3-minute limit.
have
Just
3 minutes?
So you know.
Oh.
3 minutes. It's longer than you think.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to share some of my concerns with the commission. Before Allison goes, I mean, I like to point out a few things that, might be problematic. There's a wildcat population in that area, so the sand could be a litter box, because that happened in where I live in Jackson Street, where the Creek Park is. It's a serious problem. People love cat and they'll feed them. So, by the way, I'm a landscape architect, working for the last 35 years, so so I know why we don't build sand boxes for children anymore, because that doesn't work. So this could be a problem, especially in that shady area. And the other thing is having Volleyball USA laying out this court, it seems very insulting to being a landscape architect. You should have a professional looking at it instead of a commercial entity, laying these things out that I can look at the layout, I measure the place, and I laid the court out. Is not sufficient space there. And I'm the one who's sending some of the comments, question by dimension. It's not because I'm against volleyball. No, I raised 2 kids going through Albany school system. I love Albany, and I appreciate you guys doing a lot of great things for the citizens. But this is the wrong site for it. And not to mention about the 41 feet clearance. I mean, you could talk to the arborists, John. I mean, there's no 41 clearance for shooting a ball 20 feet in the air, okay? There just simply does not work. It doesn't matter you want to squeeze it in. And one drawing that Andre showed, that the drip line is totally covering the court, meaning the canopy is inside the court. So, I mean, just not realistic. And I don't have a lot of time, on 1 minute. Also, the orientations, it's supposed to be, ball court should be north-south and it's east-west. It's glaring in the eyes, totally wrong. Parking, not to mention, last Sunday, people were having fist fight in that parking lot. They actually called in the police because there's volleyball, not volleyball, I'm sorry. There's softball and there's tennis and there's pickleball going on and there's a picnic, there's a birthday party, so people were shouting at each other, okay? There's not enough parking, okay? I'm surprised the city didn't do a parking capacity study before you proposed this. And not to mention about Redwood Groves. I mean, there's no way you're not gonna impact this Redwood Grove. I mean, this is one of the few emblematic, California landscape that remained in City of Albany. Why were you taking it away? I have so many amazing memories having picnic with my kids, with their friends underneath the Redwood Groves. I know we really not gentle with the Redwood Grove. We're, barbecuing and such. Nevertheless, let's keep it. That's not messing around. I mean, please look at it. It's a beautiful piece of greenery.
Okay, well,
Please leave it to us.
appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate the passion in particular. Okay. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Sharon. I'm one of the long-term gardeners there.
I'm sorry, can you speak up and speak into the...
Into the microphone,
Sure.
please. So
Can
the
you hear
folks
me
can-
better?
Yes.
I'm Sharon. I'm one of the long-term gardeners. And thank you so much for sharing information about the project. But I must say, I do oppose the use of the small piece of the green space that we have for the installation of a sand volleyball court. And my reasoning is because the park is already, it already has a tremendous amount of campers, particularly in the summer, soccer players, tennis players, pickleball players, and there is a playground which is used by the school and other children. Additionally, my objection for the proposed sand volleyball court is based on information from my research. And that information is when installing a sand volleyball court near a creek in Albany, there could be a high risk of flooding and erosion. If that happens, the impact of the creek from the sand and the polluted runoff could be dangerous for the environment for many years, as well as there could be a potential damage to wildlife. Also, there's a major cost, I believe, if that happens. So it's taking the chance of the possibility of damaging the environment, the ecosystem. Is it worth destroying our only small piece of open green space? And additionally, is it worth our taxpayers' money for this project? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sue Lai. I'm also with the community garden. I actually looked up online as to how volleyball courts are built. It is recommended, the recommended size is about 50 feet by 80 feet, which includes the playing area as well as the safety buffer zone. Keeping the sand dry is really important. We asked about irrigation. So from what I understand, the court itself has to be excavated between 1.5 feet to 3 feet. They have to put drainage pipes, perforated drainage pipes, multiple ones on the field. And I know about drainage because I'm dealing with flooding basements in my house. And fabric to prevent the sand from clogging it. And then after all that, they pour in the sand, and the amount of sand that they put in is about 100 tons. 100 tons equals to 220,462 feet. And that will give you only about 1 foot of sand. Most volleyball courts would like to have at least 1.5 foot to 2 foot of sand for them to play with. In addition, I came here to speak on behalf of the trees. I'm not a professional. I'm a very avid hiker. I hike all over the East Bay Hills. I love the trees. I go frequently to the Oakland Redwoods. These trees provide shade and beauty. We have one of the very few city parks that have a grove of redwood trees. They combat climate change by storing carbon. They provide habitat for biodiversity. What is important to know is that the roots of redwoods are very shallow. They radiate horizontally. They don't have deep tap roots. During these roots form a network that anchors the trees, and they essentially provide support against wind, floods, prevent erosion, maintain air and water quality. I do take note of our urban forester talking about some of the trees that need to be cut down and pruned to maintain a healthy growth, and I totally don't have any problems with that at all. All the heavy machinery and construction that goes on during the construction of this court, plus the daily stress of this very high impact sport, may not necessarily kill the trees. I think what's going to kill the trees is the fact that the shallow root systems absorb water to maintain the trees. And
Just
with all
if
the
you can be finishing up, it's
on,
we're finish up.
the trees will die. Is eventually. So I hope you will consider we have nothing against a volleyball court, just not at this location, perhaps somewhere else much more suitable.
Okay, thank you.
you.
Thank you. Sure, please.
Good evening. My name is Maya, and I just erased my note.
Oh.
So I will talk without it. So my concern about this volleyball court is that the Ocean View Park area is already overcrowded. I think we've discussed it enough. There are lots of sports facilities there. There's pickleball, tennis courts. There is the ball field. There is the children's play area. And then there are the picnic benches. We've already talked about the impact it has on trees. I'm sure Mr. Hawkridge is going to bed tonight crying. But, you know, the trees have been impacted. And if we're going to put in a volleyball court there, it's going to impact those trees even more. It's going to create more heat. It's going to create more noise pollution. It's going to create more air pollution with more cars coming in and people competing for those few spaces that are there, and we cannot increase that. I wonder why the haste to build this over there, you know, where you want to finish the project by January of 2026, and then maybe later on think about the impacts of parking problems and other problems that are created by this sports facility. Like some of the other people here who commented, I am not opposed to the idea of creating more sports opportunities for the people of Albany. just do it somewhere else where there's more space, where there's not going to be overcrowding. There's the Peggy Thompson Park. It's like, it's completely empty. There's nothing going on over there. There's Albany Beach. There are other places where you can have lower environmental impact from a court like this, and there's lots of space. So please reconsider this, and please do not have this project going forward. That'll probably damage Ocean View Park. Thank you.
Thank you. The gentleman, I believe, in the back. Gentleperson, sorry.
My name is Joe Matera. I live in Albany, and I'm hoping that Albany will not take away this last little remaining green open space in Ocean View Park and turn it into a sand volleyball court. If it remains a multi-use space, it can be used for picnics and kids playing and even casual volleyball. If it's just a volleyball court, then it probably won't even be used most of the time. I'm also worried that volleyball playing may threaten the small, as many people have said, may threaten the small redwood grove that is so enjoyable and unexpected in this location. The redwoods, as everyone said, actually overhang the proposed volleyball court, so they would be hit by volleyballs and their roots would be trampled. I'm just asking that Albany to let us keep this humble, lovely little open green space. It's precious redwood grove. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
My name is Michael.
Just be sure to talk in the microphone so people watching online can hear you.
My name is Michael. I'm a retired high school teacher, 31 years. And I have 4 children that went through Ocean View. And I think just on the surface, if you have to choose between open space and crowded facilities, I would choose for the open space for the kids. I've lived here since '95, and I've seen open space after open space after open space filled up. Like, for example, at ACC, used to be a lot of room for kids to play. Now there's a building, there's a building, there's a building. And I think we're making a mistake by going that direction. And I understand that's what developers do. They make plans, they develop things. But I think in this case, it would be better for our children to give them that open space and don't take any trees away. There was a very, eloquent dissertation on the value of trees, so I won't reiterate. But thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, any other commenters, please?
Thank you for letting us speak tonight. Most of the majority have spoken against this. But I have a question. Have any of you commissioners recently visited this small grassy space in Ocean Park? If you make a yes vote tonight on a sand volleyball court, sand all over the place, you know what kids do to sand, it would be uninformed if you haven't seen for a while how folks are using this open space in the park. I looked up the word park. Green areas of natural planted space set aside for human enjoyment, for the protection of wildlife and natural habitats. The city would have to vote to take the word park out of Ocean View Park because there would no longer be any green spaces for enjoyment for the community who do not participate in organized sports. All the other spaces in Ocean View Park are taken up by soccer, tennis, baseball, pickleball, and a large playground. That's a lot of sports. I appreciate volleyball, and I think the high school team can play on a sand court in Memorial Park, closer to their school. There's lots of grass there that they could make this this court. But tonight, I'm advocating for people who already use the open space for pickup games of badminton, frisbee, volleyball. They play volleyball there already. They like to set out their blankets and commiserate with their fellow students, play with their babies, or laugh with their friends. Others like to listen to birds, watch the butterflies, read a book, celebrate their children's birthdays on that grass. Or after they've barbecued, come out from under the redwood shade to a nice sunny area. Since I'm a member of the community garden, I've had many years to observe this space. And I would say 100 people a week are enjoying this lovely open space in Ocean View Park. It would be unfair to take this space away from folks who use it consistently. And this is where social justice comes in. The fair treatment of all individuals and groups, ensuring everyone has equal rights, opportunities, and access to essential resources and benefits within a society. The folks who frequently use this park and open space to connect with nature, the folks who use this space to connect with nature, would be dismissed if this passed tonight. So now, a yes vote on the sand court issue might just not be uninformed, it would also create inequity in Albany. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other comments, please?
First, I would like to say that I was planning, me and my other volleyball friends were planning to...
Can I get your name real quick?
Yeah. My name's Samara Frank, and I'm from Albany, and I have other friends planning to come, but sadly, the volleyball practice for school was, the time was changed. I'd like to start with saying that I know so many Albany students, and they all walk to Ocean View every day. It's the most accessible place for every kid in Albany. Volleyball is the most popular sport with girls, and not putting a volleyball court up near Ocean View is kind of ignoring all the female athletes to accommodate parking spaces and overcrowding for sports populated by the majority of guys. It's hard to play anywhere outside of Albany. There are no places in Albany or even near Albany to play volleyball with my friends. I go to the baseball courts filled with boys, or basketball courts filled with boys, football courts filled with boys, etc. I have not gotten by one single sports court that has been filled with the majority of girls. Weekly, my parents drive me all the way to Marin to get only an hour of practice in. I have so many other volleyball friends that go through the same struggles. When we decide to get practice in, we sacrifice our hours to study in school. I get home and have no time to spend time with friends, since it takes longer to drive to practice than to actual practice. When I get home, I study until very late, which makes my sleeping schedule really hard, and which makes school even harder. And as many of you know, there has been an increase in mental health with teenage girls. As a teenage girl myself, the main thing that helps me is physical exercise. It's like the only piece of advice I'd give to other girls. But most girls can't drive all the way to Marin and back every week. So having the volleyball court here would really increase teenage girls' health, and it's the most accessible place. And I know so many, I probably know more than 100 girls that play volleyball, and have parents that can't always drive them to places, or when they do, they are struggling in school and social life too. Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. I'm Brianna. I'm a Albany resident and parent, and a proud member of our volleyball community, and would like to represent some of our thoughts today. And I really actually want to go back to this thought about equality, equity. And so that's how this conversation started. We were looking at open spaces and sports fields for boys and for girls. And we went through a lot of statistics about the softball courts, the soccers, the baseball, all these other male-dominated sports. So what we looked at is we're really missing an opportunity for our Albany girls to play outside, play their sport, and have that equal access. Volleyball is an expensive sport. There's a lot of interest in our community. We're playing this year in high school with girls who had never played before, which is so wonderful. There's a barrier to entry. Samara talked about it. We're going to the South Bay. We're going over to Alameda. We're going over to Marin just to play the sport that is so popular and so loved here. I will say the boys are liking it too. My son's now playing. But you know, I really think about what makes a community and what makes equity. And part of that is balancing the need for sports and space for girls, balancing our love of open space and trees. I trust what our project managers have laid out that we are thinking about. They are thinking about drainage. They are thinking about pruning, not destroying these redwood groves. We love it too. My kids have grown up here. We've enjoyed the parks. And I do want to support, especially the girls, playing their sports that they're passionate about. They're healthier, they're doing better in school, they're staying out of trouble. So if we can do that, and we can do that together, we can come up with a compromise, I think that's great. So I hope you'll consider that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Aaron Frank. I've probably been up in front of you guys to talk about trees more than anybody in Albany. So I definitely understand the desire to protect the trees. And so if I thought this was going to kill our redwood groves, I would be against it. But I want to speak in favor of the sand volleyball courts. Everything that's been said before, having a son, having a daughter, this is a sport that a lot of people love, boys and girls, but having a daughter that's into it, for girls, for teenage girls now, to have something where they can socialize in real life, face-to-face, not organized sport, without their phones, has been a lifesaver. And we have to drive our kids all over creation to do it, and we live right here in Albany where they would love to just walk to the park and do that. My daughter has gone down to the park and set up nets, and it's a big deal, and you can do it a couple times a year, but you just can't do it all the time. So we would drive to Marin to play sand volleyball and all over the place. So in terms of equity, I really think that having something local that's accessible to people who don't want to join a league or can't join a league, or have parents that can't just take off time from their jobs would help with equity. I think that's it. Oh, yes, I was going to say, in Marin, one of the places that my daughter plays volleyball, there's a sand volleyball court in a park right next to a redwood tree, and redwood tree seems to be doing fine, and the volleyball players are doing pretty good too, so it seems like there's some coexistence there. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Technically, no. I'm afraid you're not allowed to speak again. I'm sorry, we understand. We understand. And all right, folks, please settle down back there. We've had our opportunity. Are there any other public comment, please, to the microphone?
No hands online.
All right, well, I think we're going to bring it back to the commission for discussion. Who would like to start?
I would say a few things. One is to address some of what the speaker said. First of all, I appreciate the different perspectives and hearing people who are in that corner of the park a lot, what their experiences are. It's really helpful for us to put that all together and make a decision. Someone mentioned maybe putting it at the beach. I was on the subcommittee for multi-use courts and volleyball and sand volleyball, and we looked at that, and there were a few problems with it. One was the wind, and the other was that Albany doesn't own the beach, so we have no jurisdiction there. So that was one. In the parks, we do try to balance open turf, grass spaces with sports programming and tree planting. You heard some of that tonight with the arborist talking about the Jewel Terrace Park, for example. So we're always thinking about that balance. So we definitely appreciate hearing about the uses of the turf there in Ocean View Park, or I do at least. Pier Street Park, it's in our Parks Master Plan to do more there, but that is something that is a much bigger kind of process to go through. The Ocean View Park, there's already poles for volleyball. There has been in the past a volleyball court there. And so in that sense, so I hope we'll have the Pier Street Park will come before us sooner than later for things to do out at that location. And but that's not before us tonight. That's what I had to say for now.
All right. Other comments?
Yeah, I'd just like to echo that. Thanks, Commissioner Martin, for bringing that up, because we serve on the subcommittee together. And so I think one of the other things in terms of the comment about haste, I think this has been a conversation, at least on this commission, for the past 8 years, at least I think 8, maybe more.
Several years.
Since the bocce ball thing kind of fell away.
Oh yeah, since the bocce ball.
But I do think we were very deliberate looking at different parks, and I mean, it is a question back to staff of how feasible is Memorial, but it was very clear from the very rigorous public comment process that was a non-starter to do it at Memorial Park because of so many just the small amount of land there. And I think also, yeah, same for Pier Street, not that it couldn't happen, but that it would be even a longer timeline and no certainty. And I think even the proposed use has already excluded that. So I just didn't want the public to misunderstand that this was done in haste. I think this has actually come before our commission many, many, many times. So, but I would urge the city or staff to consider how to mitigate any of those issues in terms of what was brought up in terms of the asphalt paving. So to the extent that you all have already offered options that could be like a lower impact, I think that would be preferred personally, if that's possible. I think there was an option A, B, C, right? So
that's actually what they want information on tonight.
Right. Exactly. That was
that was one of the things they actually want feedback on.
Yeah, so we should talk a little bit about
We'll talk about that at some point.
So.
Other
Yeah, I have a few comments. So it looks like one of the comments that everybody had in common was the use. There's too many people there, it's overcrowded, why are we adding more use into it? But the use in the park actually pulsates quite a bit. I go down there in the afternoon on weekdays with my son a lot, and it's empty. Afternoon, it's a little bit more, and the weekends, it's packed full. It sounds like, it's when do you use the volleyball courts, and when do these different, obviously in the evening when they have baseball games and soccer games and ultimate frisbee, that place is pretty busy. It sounds like one of the younger people here that was speaking that they do it after school, which might be a window where it's open for use and maybe not competing with the other activities. Some other comments were that it was kind of taking away a beautiful natural area and hurting the environment. I don't really buy that. It's a lawn area, it's compacted soil. The creek's a natural area, the trees are. We have lots of lawn over at the 88, at the, what do you call it, the
Chip Club? Or?
facility next door.
Oh,
And, you know, the robins can use that lawn, so I don't really see that strip of lawn being kind of a crucial environmental place. I think some of the garden, folks that work in the garden are really missing that open space, and I can see why. It's really nice, but the garden's a really nice space that doesn't serve that many people, but it's a great space. So ultimately, what we want to do is serve as many of Albany's citizens as we can, and this kind of serves a group of underserved people, and we've been trying to find a place to put the volleyball court somewhere in the city in lots of places, and this fit pretty well. I don't quite buy the idea that it's going to harm the redwoods. I think it will improve drainage. There was a comment about excavation. That's a good one. We had to look at how much we're going down, whether we're going to cut some major roots or would you have to lift it up. Those are some considerations. Let's see. Do we need to make it legal, like a official size? It seems like if we were a little undersized, it wouldn't draw kind of competitive sports, and it would just be a fun thing. I played in lots of volleyball sports in my life, and I don't think I played in a single, legal regulation. Thank you, regulation-sized court, and I had lots of fun. So if it's about having fun in training, I don't think it needs to be as big as it is. Maybe being smaller will keep it off of the circuit a little bit and be more for an Albany.
I think Allison was saying that it actually is too small for tournament play.
Yeah.
So it actually is already not.
What is that again? Sorry, miss.
So the staff was, one question I had is it tournament regulation size? And they already said, no, it's not.
I did, okay, you missed that. Thank you for that. Yeah.
So
Well,
that
my understanding was that the court itself is, but the space on the sides is not.
very well could be.
And I would have a hard.
It's not that it's a scaled down court, right? Yeah.
And I don't think it would be appropriate to tell the girls, oh, you don't get a full-size court. You don't get to practice on a full-size court. You need a full-size court to really practice. That spacing makes a difference. I would not be in favor of reducing the size of the court itself as a principle, just for utility.
Well, that's a good point. If there's something we can do to keep it from being regulation size, but still keep, maybe regulation requires a 5-foot runoff space.
Well, that's what we're already bending on.
4 inches and 4 feet.
That's what we're already bending on, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
My concern actually is that it's not enough. They're going to run into benches
Yeah.
and trees and what have you, but on the other hand,
One more thing too, I
Yeah.
think the users tend to either dropped off or get there on foot or bike or scooter. They tend to be the users that are driving cars and looking for parking space.
all right, folks, no. Thank you.
We don't know, 'cause
I appreciate that. You've had your.
Yeah, that might not be true. That's
It might
my
not be
hunch.
true, but nobody knows because
My hunch.
it's not active. So there's no state.
And the public can also send us more emails through the.
Please save your comments. We need to have our discussion here.
Well, just also one context, because I think somebody asked the question about volleyball on sand, which is actually very different from indoor because you only play 2 people against 2 people generally. You can always do more, but
Sure.
that's like what you would practice competing with. And so the number of people who would actually like potentially go in on a regular basis would probably just be 4. And then and because you need for any kind of tournament more than 1 court, it also excludes. I totally agree with you that we should not have a court that would be
The court is already compromised. We don't want to make it
Yeah.
worse. Yeah.
But in terms of tournament regulations, we don't need it because there will never be a tournament there.
Right.
So, and which would also mean there's less impact. It's not like there's a bunch of visitors from another high school coming in to do a tournament there. But it is, I think, a practice. It could potentially be a practice spot that serves a high school club, for example, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of thing.
And I do also know that they do have volleyball available at the gym, but the gym space is competing for use. So they only have the nets there periodically. They don't have it regularly. So again, they don't have a space here, indoor or outdoor, sand or surface.
And last time some youth spoke about the volleyball, I remember something about there were just so many teams that had come together or I don't know if they were official teams, but there were so many, yeah, basically teams of a lot of girls and some boys, and that there were some girls that couldn't even join, and that none of them had a place they could practice outside of their own gymnasium.
And would there be any opportunity for the city to program this at all, like summer camp or something? I'm thinking of our not Title IX, but the California equivalent of using city facilities for women.
From what I understand, back in the day, Friendship Club had a net they would hang out there and play, but I imagine, if we build a facility like that, there would be some level of programming, but that would yet to be determined.
Yeah, another question or another point that comes to mind is it's not like we're saying nobody else can ever go there. People can still enjoy what grass is there and the sand. Hopefully not too many cats. I think that's likely, but I kind of just think that's the way things are.
Yeah, about the parking, I think definitely based on the demographic that will more likely use this, I think parking shouldn't be that much of an issue because Albany is a very walkable city. Also, about the sand becoming a litter box, could it be possible to like put a tarp on it overnight or something? So
I think that's a lot to ask. It's a nice idea. I think it's a lot to ask.
That would be a challenge. My guess is that might work for a short period of time, but not a long term.
And now there's other potential impacts, I think, from that. Yeah.
It'll probably blow off and something will get underneath, and it'd probably more hassle than it's worth.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything you can do, having owned some sandboxes in my day.
yeah, but I do think people and the risk might be for the litter box thing at least. I think if people still use it, then I guess it's fine.
Yeah. 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 Please.
I haven't been on this commission the longest, so I was just wondering to y'all, why was this piece of land specifically chosen as opposed to the other parks? And yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a really excellent question. And I mean, the long and short of it is Albany is very space constrained. We don't have a lot of places. We have very few spaces or facilities, really, period. So we're trying to get the most use that we can out of the space that we have. And it was brought to us, and I think it was kind of kismet. Somebody on the commission had noticed that volleyball was very popular at the high school, and yet we didn't have a facility in any of the courts or in the parks. And at the same time, somebody from the public came in and started talking about that. So we saw this as a valuable use, and this is like the only real place that we could put it. I mean, Pier Street Park potentially, but that's a whole can of worms.
Yeah. We
have no idea what's going to happen there.
That's a huge process.
Sooner rather than later, but who knows?
Right,
We don't
right.
know. That's a whole other story. So basically, it's kind of the best option we have, even though it is a compromise. It's not a perfect location. I mean, the trees aren't great for volleyball. They're going to, high hits are going to hit the trees and fall down. They're not going to hurt the trees. Volleyball don't go that hard, but it's the best we can do, and it activates a space that has been really underutilized, and that we've been trying to do something with for a long time.
And then also there are.
Thank you so much.
There are existing volleyball poles there, and so there has been some volleyball use. And as was mentioned earlier, maybe 8 years ago, probably the commission was looking at a bocce ball court to basically excavate that area as well for that. And so it would have been a similar impact with a lot of drainage improvements and things like that to make that work. And so that's some of the history there and why that space was chosen.
I'm assuming also like Memorial was also looked at and maybe Terrace.
Well, so we've added the movable volleyball net facility at Memorial as a way to do that as a trial. And if that goes well, we may add it to Terrace.
We've already gotten some feedback that it's really cumbersome to move those heavy volleyball nets around on the tennis courts, and
especially for the folks who are interested in playing with them.
Especially for the middle school girls that are interested in playing there, and maybe other folks too.
And then last thing, we're not deciding anything, right? We're just recommending to the city council.
Well, in that sense, we never decide anything. It all goes before the council. We're providing feedback and then deciding whether to send it on, make a recommendation to council.
Okay.
Yeah. that correct? Is that
Tree removals is one thing.
well, it is, but that can
Technically,
be appealed too.
It could be appealed.
So there we go.
But there was something in the staff report about Plan A, B, C.
So
what
perhaps we should-
so what does staff actually want from us tonight?
So I think the first question was the path, and this is the path between the picnic area and the tennis courts, I guess, right? And the practice tennis area, that width, and then how it branches out and then expands or extends into the volleyball area.
And then also, I just wanted to reiterate that members of the public that do have more to share are free to email us at any time and share their thoughts.
And we will all get that.
And then also, this should go before the city council, and that's another time to voice your opinions.
So yes, to kind of wrap back around to kind of what we're looking for tonight, we're looking for a recommendation, whether to move on or if there's something you want us to look at more. Ideally, if you're asking us to kind of bring this to council, we want to clarify the path. If there's any other feedback about what things you want us to look at, depending on the complexity of it, we may want to come back. And so there is, you know, kind of a range of where this can go. So what we presented earlier on the schedule is an ideal situation where we can get clear direction right now and kind of the shortest kind of schedule. But depending on what we hear tonight, we'll probably have to kind of, if it's any more than kind of clarifying the path and saying this seems reasonable, we're likely going to extend that schedule.
Good. So let's specifically give feedback on the path question. I mean, there were 3 options mentioned. One is basically leave it the way it is, larger impact on the trees. I guess that's about a 10-foot width.
It's a 10-foot width for the majority of it. There's some places where it reduces down to 9 because of constrictions.
Sure.
And
Would that involve trimming some roots, pruning some roots to make it level?
So depending on the width. So if we wanted
But
to
if
keep it,
we
yes.
kept the 10, yeah.
If you kept it 10, very likely there would be some trimming of roots, and with that comes everything that comes out of kind of being careful, but also risks to the trees.
And then if we reduce it, I think 4 to 5 feet. Before the garden folks leave, I would just like to ask, I would love to get an email talking about how this would actually affect the garden itself. If there's any impact you think on the garden, because we've been considering finding a better location for the garden anyway, so maybe that's the solution here, is just find you a place with more sun and easier access. Anyway, please. And an email would be wonderful on that. About the 5 feet width. Yeah.
So one of the things that, it's hard to say for certain, but given that there's a practice court nearby, and that's a very wide path to not very much going on, I have a suspicion that there was a decision to make a wider path in that area in order to provide some kind of balancing of room, because if you're right-handed, you're hitting a ball against the practice court, you're probably leaving that court occasionally. And so we're talking about more, you know, people coming in and out and making sure we have room for everyone. That's a trade-off to consider. And we just have to balance kind of decisions around this.
Interesting. Okay.
This won't be light, there'll be no lights, right?
No, this project's
I
not.
think it won't compete with nighttime uses.
No, I will say though, with how dense the wood is, the grove is, that even in the afternoons and evenings, it's actually pretty dark in some of those areas. So it's not just a nighttime kind of situation, where there is some lighting in that area that may not turn on, but there is kind of overshadowing of the path. Some of the maintenance may help with that, but until we
Sure.
get there, we won't know for certain.
Can we get the slide up from the staff report, the page that has option A, B, C, D? And then just to be clear, this is the path, yeah, that one right there, that's on the east side of the park near the pickleball courts, tennis courts, not the path that's on the west side by USDA.
Right, is this one
That's
right?
correct. It's the one on the right-hand side of the image on the screen right now. And so you can see some of the root uplift, and it's actually hard to tell how high that tree is right near that lamppost. I think John's image, he said about 3 feet. That sounds right, and it extends out into the path. So the path is actually elevated like this. And that's the worst corner of kind of uplift.
Now, that was also a tree that may be removed. Now, that might change our calculation a little bit, but of course, it's a little premature, I think.
And that would be a kind of a separate discussion, or, you know, combined. I mean, it's part of this decision tonight, or the kind of recommendations tonight.
And then looking at this image, I'm thinking about the space in back that we're expanding to kind of come up to the volleyball court, where we were looking before, but further back in the image, not the other image, further back in the image where the log is there. Yeah. I'm just trying to picture, so there will be more asphalt there.
That's the proposal in order to provide a little bit of seating for people and separation from the entrance to the gardens, and provide space for the reason we were proposing kind of putting in that bulletin board is also it helps with balls a little bit, but it also provides just a little bit more kind of vertical separation between activities.
Yeah. I was just seeing it as a target for volleyballs.
Potentially. We can, you know, that's one side maybe for one group of users, and the other side, and you can put a target on it. It may increase our maintenance, though, so we maybe ask not to.
No glass on that, right? Just cork?
That's probably something we need to discuss and figure out, make sure.
Yeah, no glass. Okay. Maybe plexiglass. Other, I mean, I like the 4 to 5 foot width option. Anybody?
I'm a little lost on the options.
Yeah, me too.
It's in the staff report. Can we see that?
I can also kind of, if you want, I can kind of point to it and kind of just explain what were the 4 options. The staff report's kind of, it has a lot of words. Realistically to work with. So the first option is to keep it the same. The second option is to narrow it, but maybe not to the ADA minimum, kind of some balancing. The third option is really just to reduce down to the max, so we're staying as far away from the roots as we can. And the last option is kind of some kind of path variation. So we, you know, in the worst areas we go down, but in some of the areas we go wider. What I will say about kind of paths coming in and out is that people are still going to walk straight. And also, you know, there is kind of a densely wooded kind of daylight darkness in some of those areas, depending on what time of day. And it just means kind of less detectability, both for somebody who may be visually challenged, or, you know, have challenges, and also just for kind of general kind of trip and falls when the paths kind of meander sometimes. It is a park. Paths meander in parks. So I think there's more of a balance here than we would have in kind of the right-of-way. So that's why we're bringing kind of all 4 of those options up.
We're not talking about a dramatic meander. We're just talking a little.
It would be to avoid roots. So we'd be looking at exactly where those roots are and trying to guess where the worst of it is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's because we need to put down a thicker layer of asphalt that's more permanent. Why are we changing it at all?
So there's a little bit of, it's already kind of damaged from tree roots. This picture doesn't do it justice. There's uplift. But secondly, if we have a volleyball court where we're maybe expanding already and have asphalt out here, it's a kind of a timing issue of having a contractor out there already working in the area and more kind of cost effectively being able to take care of work. Again, as I mentioned earlier, this is not the worst path on our parks. And so this is more of an kind of opportunity to do stuff versus we could probably find somewhere else to do it as well. But if we have to come back in the future, it's just more costly, and we're going to be revisiting this kind of discussion at that time.
And is it used for maintenance vehicles, or why is it so wide now?
It could have been a maintenance vehicle question. The other thing that I'm thinking is that with this practice court being kind of narrow, there is some kind of like sharing of space potentially, so people can use that practice court a little bit more fully when there's not a lot of pedestrians.
On the maintenance vehicle, yes, our maintenance vehicles do go back there occasionally.
And would a narrower path affect that?
I
mean, the space would still be there. They just.
As long as it's drivable, I'm sure we could come and don't know if we would do a DG on the shoulder or something like that. That
Is a maintenance vehicle a pickup truck or a
Pickup truck.
golf cart?
Pickup truck.
Okay.
Just clarifying, you mean people go back there that aren't worked with the city?
No, our city vehicle
Okay.
maintenance staff. There's times we do trimming along the backside there as well as cleanups.
I have a question. How much would you need to, what's the minimum amount of new asphalt that needs to be laid for the ADA requirements?
So it would be the minimum amount that we keep, kind of the minimum width we keep. We're not asking to expand it further.
Oh.
We're talking about when we put it back, do we want to narrow it? And
You
have-
could use it as is and just put the court in now where it is
We-
with the existing?
The path can stay as it is. It, again, there remains uplift on it, and there's always a risk of tripping hazards and trip and falls.
It could also be replaced and like renewed and at the same size.
Correct, yes.
So it would be more level with little root pruning and fresh asphalt. And so you're saying there's some economies of scale of while the contractor's already there, we can do this. And the question is, do we want to keep it when it's replaced, do we keep it the original width that you're looking at right there? Or do we take a foot off, 2 feet off, or go all the way down to 4 feet or whatever the minimum is for ADA?
I'm wondering, the city council, so this is just to get the bid in the first place. We don't have a bid, so there's nothing to approve we wouldn't be approving it anyway, it'd be city council. I'm just wondering if the project as a whole would be compromised if this part was, I don't know, it's just almost like we're packaging two different things that are could be separate. And I just wouldn't want that to compromise the whole project as a whole because of this cost, right? That is not necessary.
So this cost would be coming from a different budget or capital program.
Okay.
So this is not part of the sand volleyball costs. That's the discrete projects, the improvements specifically that we can identify as part of the sand volleyball. This would be part of our annual park rehabilitation program.
Okay, so the city council would see it that way, would see it as being a
We would be
different-
clear that these are different. And the path from the UC Village on the west side of the park, it would be the same. That is a maintenance or a capital renewal project, and using the annual park maintenance funding.
Got it. Okay, so that's why this is a park issue because okay. So
Yeah, it really could be a different agenda
Yeah,
item.
it's almost
It's
a-
just-
exactly.
It could be, it's just, it goes well with this because we're going to be out there anyway.
I mean, I would also say, I hear concerns about the tripping, but I would say if there's way to to improve the quality of the trees, I would suggest the narrowing, I guess, too. So.
Right, I've seen people use that asphalt space for doing all kinds of, running little cars on it or exercising and stuff, but it's not necessary if it's going to help the trees. I'm for narrowing, but maybe narrowing at 4 or 5 feet might be extreme. Maybe 2 feet, a little more roots. Trees do look a little bit pressured.
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like 2 or 3 feet rather than 4 or 5 feet.
Yeah, because I do think people actually use that space for activities, for yeah.
2 or 3 feet would get closer to kind of a standard pickup width as well.
Right.
And so it would kind of span that a little bit better than a 4-foot path would.
There we go. Okay. Other comments on this one?
Replacing the thing and keeping the same length and versus like narrowing it down, it would need more maintenance. Like the roots would probably like lift it up sooner if it was still the same length, right?
So I'm going to try to answer. John, please correct me. My understanding on kind of how this is, I'm a civil engineer. The trees is not something I studied in school, but picking it up from the sidewalk program that we do a lot of work around trees, the more room we give the tree kind of a basin around, it seems like the longer, the kind of theory is the longer until the trees start kind of pushing out. They have more room to grow in that area. They have more access to air. They have more kind of like comfort there, and they'll kind of fill that area out before. And so it at least on the sidewalk program, our approach has been to kind of widen tree basins to extend time until we have to redo.
Yeah, I would agree with like shortening it a bit, definitely because the trees, but like not too much. Yeah.
think helping the trees while also leaving the extra space for the,
Yeah.
either that or a railing. That would take care of that problem too. Okay.
So would a compromise of changing it from 9 to 10 to maybe 7?
I think that's what we're saying. Yeah, I think
7
that's
to
what we're saying,
8 or
6 or 7.
something,
Okay.
yeah.
So how about 7?
Okay.
Sure.
It is.
You're not trying to get us through this, are you?
I love it. Thank you.
All right. And I don't know if I have anything to say about the UC Village path. I'm not opposed to asphalt there. We talked about all the different services when we were talking about the Albany Hill project, and really at some point, it just makes the most sense. The DG is not as wonderful as everybody used to think it is. It's not long-lived. It requires maintenance and upkeep, and I see people using that path frequently, bicycles and the like. So I don't have any comments on that, except what I just made.
I did want to, I guess, clarify in the staff report, it said there'd be signage reminding bicyclists that bikes are not allowed in parks. Would that be the only signs in Albany parks that say that?
I don't know the answer to that question. I apologize. I think knowing that bikes do ride through there as a cut through, we know that they're using there's a few desire paths that are clearly used by bikes. And so we're trying to address desire paths when we make changes in parks as well. I will say that in terms of bikes, there is a separate project going on to put in a kind of more permanent shared use path along Jackson Street that's actively going through design right now. And so the hope is that even if the signs, kind of temporary condition, that becomes a not much safer access for bicyclists to the Buchanan Bikeway, and so that they would hopefully stop using this so much. So we're not just looking at kind of just a sign. There's some active work to try to kind of give bicyclists a safer, more pleasant access to the other bike arterials.
Would it be possible to make the path wider so that cyclists would have a space and pedestrians would have a space?
I don't think without removing trees, and I'm not certain this would be a great use of that given the children's playground right there. It's not very far. So the bicyclists, the gate there isn't always closed. So sometimes it's open, they're able to ride right through. Other times the gate's closed, you actually probably have to get off your bike. And at that point, we really want them to stay off the bike. The main access path, if the sand volleyball court does get installed, the main access path will have to go through, or the main access from UC will have to go through that kind of highly used kids area, because they won't be able to diagonally cross to this main path that you're seeing on the screen.
You're asking for input on that?
Any other input?
Gravel or asphalt?
If you have input, it's something we'll definitely look at. This is I think I would recommend against DG, just from kind of experience on these and maintenance. So really the two that we're looking that I'm kind of more closely at is asphalt, and again, the more expensive option of a highly stabilized kind of aggregate. The third option on these is always concrete. The thing with concrete in heavily treed areas with heavy tree cover and roots is that you have much more kind of extreme changes if it's
brittle, it cracks more.
uplift and things like that.
I mean, I would just like to see it stay as DG and keep it the way it is.
And if not that, I'm fine with asphalt.
I think for the purposes of what we're looking for tonight, we are looking for kind of a final recommendation.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna make a motion that regarding number one, that we do recommend that this goes forward to council. I would suggest, what was it? What did you say? 7 foot, 7 foot path area. 6 to 8 or something as a compromise. And then I like the idea of the asphalt on the back path. be my, was there anything else you folks wanted feedback on? I think that was the specific item.
Is that a motion?
I've made a motion. I'm just trying to see if there's something else they wanted. Yeah, all right, that's my motion.
What's your motion?
To recommend this to go forward, 7-foot option on the one recommendation, and then asphalt on the back. Maybe we need to be separate.
Yeah,
Maybe we need separate, because otherwise you have to say no.
Right.
Okay, we'll have to discuss then. So what I know about the DG there is it always gets rutted, it does flood sometimes, and the bikes go through and even walked.
I guess let's discuss that. I thought, do we want bikes to go on that? Is that a bike trail?
We don't want bikes to be ridden on it.
Well, I mean,
They
that's
won't
why
be
I'm-
ridden on it, but they will be.
Right, so an asphalt path to me says bike lane, bike one. That's why I'm objecting.
But it also would make it more accessible for ADA people and things
It's
like
an issue, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's right.
But the decomposed DG is okay for ADA. There's no.
If it's maintained.
It's fresh, yeah.
When it's fresh, it's likely usually considered ADA compliant. The stabilization material washes away, it wears. Eventually, it's no longer non-slip. It takes a greater amount of maintenance.
This is an ADA, we do need to keep this as a ADA accessible.
It's an extension of an existing path, and there is an
All right, okay, well then I changed my mind. Asphalt's fine. I totally agree, it doesn't work for.
Can I proceed with
Yes,
my motion then? All right, I'll restate it. That we recommend this go forward to council, that we opt for option D, which is the 7-foot width there in that path, and that we work on replacing the DG with asphalt on the back path. I'm calling it back, I don't know, west path.
I second.
All right.
Okay. Commissioner Chan.
Yes.
Commissioner Chang Frank.
Yes.
Commissioner Kent.
Yes.
Commissioner Martin.
Yes.
Commissioner Trinkle.
Yes.
And Commissioner Abbott.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Nothing to it. All right, folks. Thank you, everybody who spoke. And there are more opportunities for comment. This is not a done deal. Keep your eye on the council agenda. All right. I believe that was the last item on the agenda.
Sure. No.
I don't see any subcommittee updates, announcements, future agenda items.
I'll let you, anybody else have any announcements before I go?
Well, I do know that there's a little event called the Solano Avenue Stroll coming Sunday. I'll be busy all day. I encourage you all to come out. Look for my car in the parade. Okay. Other.
Okay. So, Dinner with Albany, Saturday, October 4th at Memorial Park from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. After initially selling out, more tables have been added and are now available to reserve. Reserve your table today at albanyca.gov/dinnerwithalbany. If you need help registering, please call 510-524-9283 for online assistance or to register by phone. Don't miss the beloved Albany tradition. We can't wait to see you there. That was my only
I
announcement.
did have one more comment, one more announcement, and that is the Sunday before that, so the September 28th or something. It's like the Sun. Anyway, the Solano Avenue Association is hosting an Albany Film Fest showing on the street on Talbot, I think. Talbot. Mark doesn't know about this yet, and so that'll be nice. That's part of the film fest that we're bring people to the Avenue to enjoy film. Okay, that's it.
I've got a couple things. September 28th, that's the Sunday, the same one. If you recall, in January, we were looking at removing a tree adjacent to the BART tracks, and that got called off because of a BART issue. It's rescheduled for that date. We are, tomorrow it's getting announced in the e-news. It'll be announced in City Manager's report on Monday, and it'll be in the following e-news. It's going to be the same area, same sort of traffic control setup, and we're going to just get the word out and people avoid the area or go slowly through it and
See a movie down the street.
go see a movie down this. I was at a pit in I was like, oh my gosh, don't tell me they're doing it.
There's
on
also
the corner
Taste of Albany's that day too. Rotary's Taste of Albany, so there won't be anybody over there.
Again, I'm glad nothing's happening at Dartmouth and
Oh, no, wait,
Masonic.
that's what it is. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Also, I wanted to point out 2 updates on Memorial Park. Unfortunately, Andre left, but we had 2 projects finish over the summer. One was a refreshing of the bathrooms. I don't know if anyone's been at Albany Memorial Park. You know, and I think a lot of commissioners were here when we did the refresh initially. The bathrooms really get a lot of use and were really beat up. So we redid the epoxy floor. We reattached and fixed all the partitions. And then I think Andre and Peter, one of our maintenance workers, found a contractor that does this really, I mean, basically seals the FRP and everything, so it looks beautiful.
Okay.
So take a look. We're really proud of that. And then the pedestrian lights are up in.
Oh, excellent.
And they really look good. Oh my God. Yeah,
So then
really
that's a
good.
many-year project.
Memorial Park.
It's a long project.
Oh, that started before I got here.
Yeah, that was before you got here.
Years ago. Oh my goodness.
I think that might be the last project that was on the books.
Okay.
From before I started. So
That sounds about right.
yeah.
Yeah.
But one of
You
the things,
managed to kill all the other ones. Okay.
yeah. But now. But one of the things that it highlights. So we used our new. We did the lighting study and we used the new lighting standards, and it really is a stark contrast of some of the lighting that's out there. That is the 5,000 Kelvin lights are just bright as all heck. So that's interesting. Go take a look.
Yeah.
As far as next meeting, we have a number of things on the line. We have, remember James did the pass-through bulb outs at a couple locations. He's been monitoring it the last couple seasons and wanting to come do an update of what he's finding, what's working, what's not working. I think this was on the queue for July, but when that meeting got canceled, we're pushing it now. We'll do tree removals. I haven't talked to John yet, but potentially something similar, tree summary for Memorial Park. And then Justin Freed, our transportation planner, would likely come in and do a presentation on the Albany Greenway and different scooters and how it's being used. And
Done a speed analysis?
I don't know if it's a full analysis, but some information on that. But I think that would be really interesting since one of the projects we have queued up for this year would be programming of the space along the Albany Greenway. So I think that would be an interesting. So that's one of the things potential. But then Nina, our other Habitat intern, who wasn't here tonight, will be doing her presentation. So we got a pretty full agenda.
So people that are interested, so for the Greenway, it sounds like people who are interested in like the speed that vehicles are going on there and the different uses by different types of vehicles on those paths would be interested potentially in that meeting.
Yes. So I think this presentation has already been delivered to the Transportation Commission,
Okay.
and I felt that it would be a good idea to bring it here because we're going to be looking at different uses along the corridor.
All right.
And that's it.
Agenda request, seeing none, we will adjourn this meeting. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.